up, we play host to Tottenham, who don't like it if you call them Tottenham. So Tottenham it is then. Kick off on Sundays at 2 p.m, but there's no official live coverage in the UK to speak of. Engineering works between Upminster and Percy, Billericay, Braintree and Colchester, and on parts of the DLR will be the order of the day, so check before leaving and all that stuff. So Tottenham then. Now, much as they are to be pitied, we should always remember that they were put on this planet to give the rest of the league something to laugh at. And bless them, they're always there when times are bad to cheer us up. Remember the start of the season when they were definitely going to win the league? Top 4 for certain. Well, 5th or 7th. Enough to qualify for Europe. Well, staying up anyway. Definitely. Ipswich are down, aren't they? To be fair to them, they were 5th for a week back in August, but they're not in the greatest of form at present, it has to be said. They've won just the one game out of their last 8, that being a 3-1 defeat of Southampton at home, that condemned Saints to the drop and their manager to the dole queue. Since the end of February, Tottenham's record reads drawn, lost, won, lost. Their last outing seeing them roll over to hand Liverpool the title. Something that was greeted with some approval from their supporters, who made the same error of judgment as their North London neighbours in assuming that Arsenal were actually in with a shout at the title. Things have been a bit better for them in Europe, where they've somehow qualified for the Thursday Night League semi-finals, benefiting from the format change designed to prevent larger teams than them from going out in the group stage. There was a lot of head-scratching over the semi-final draw, mind, as thousands of supporters consulted reference books and atlases in a bid to find out more about the unknown team they were about to face. Happily, thanks to the power of the World Wide Web, Bodo Glimt supporters were able to find out that Tottenham are in fact a small club based in North London. Daisy says that there was a bit of activity during the transfer window. Finding themselves with a mini-injury crisis on the goalkeeping front at the turn of the year, they spent $12.5 million on Czech onion bag custodian Antonin Kinski. He arrived from Slavia Prague, where he finally managed to make the number 1 slot after lengthy spells away on loan. Indeed, he'd originally rejected a new contract at the end of last season, but an injury to the incumbent netminder changed his mind. Kinski made his debut for Tottenham in the absence of the unreliable Vicario, who now has resumed as first choice between the sticks following his injury. They had a bit of a dabble in the loan market as well. Austrian defender Kevin Danso arrived from Lens on a deal for which there is some form of obligation to buy. He's an odd character. Austrian-born of Ghanaian stock, he somehow managed to end up in Milton Keynes of all places, joining their academy at the age of 9. He moved to Germany at the age of 16, going through the Augsburg system, becoming their youngest ever player. He had a loan season at Southampton before ending up at Lens via Dusseldorf. The other loan signing was striker Mathys Tel. His deal contains an option to buy for £50 million at the end of the season, the player having fallen well out of favour at Bayern. He won't be in any hurry at all to get back to Munich, I suggest. Bayern exercised their veto over the player representing France under-20s in the 2023 under-20 World Cup. They followed this by blocking his participation in the French 2024 Olympic squad. Daisy tells me that on his days off, Tel can be seen stepping out with Mademoiselle Indira Amipo, who, I am reliably informed, was the winner of the 2023 Miss France title. Elsewhere on the injury front, Spurs have doubts about Maddison and Solanke, as well as Song. Dragusin and Bergvall are definitely out. The composition of the team on Sunday will depend on how safe they feel with their 3-1 European lead, one suspects. Shall we move on to the wild and wacky world of association football? Yeah, let's. It was a very depressing weekend for the game as the 21st century equivalent of Review's Leeds United kicked their way to the title, and thousands of people in Croydon suddenly remembered that they don't support Manchester United after all, as their local side got past an out-of-steam Villa to reach the cup final, whereupon they will face Manchester City. The BBC went bonkers trying to link the Anfield thugs to every single story going on their website. Cardinals rare wed to Pope's funeral in tribute was one of the headlines, I expect, along with Spanish power outage not expected to affect Anfield. Still, one Everton supporter made a few bob out of relabelling blue flares with red labels before flogging them to the Liverpool support, who were somewhat surprised when they let the things off. Still, the club can look on the bright side of things, unencumbered as they seem to have been by the usual disciplinary action that gets dished out to other clubs when pyrotechnics are used. Some things never change. And so let's move on to us then, with a due sense of foreboding. Well, the quote usually, but incorrectly attributed to Albert Einstein on the subject of insanity, being repeating the same thing time and time again and expecting different results, was one that immediately leapt to mind. For the third game on the trot, we were undone by late goals. OK, maybe you can discount the one up at Anfield, which the match officials would have thrown in themselves if they could have done. However, each time we go ahead in a game, we seem to retreat and defend far, far too deep. We didn't seem surprised why the opposition accept the invite to attack. Fulkrug had a word for it, and, as the chant from the away section on Saturday put it, he was right. The annoying thing was that they were there for the taking. 2 worldies that the perpetrators would be hard pushed to repeat in a month of Sundays, and a header that saw Mavropanos move in completely the opposite direction to the scorer he was supposed to be marking, were the result of us retreating so deep that we were dodging trains on the Elizabeth line. You'd have thought that the matter was aired so publicly last week, the concept of not doing that again might have been uppermost in the players' minds. Clearly not. Oh well, on the injury front, Antonio continues to progress, while some of the stories about Somerville appear to have been true, insofar as he's finally had an operation on his troublesome hamstring, rather begging the question as to why it wasn't done weeks ago. Ferguson will be available for his usual spot on the bench, having been ineligible last weekend, whilst Alvarez faces a late fitness test, having missed out last time with a back problem. Otherwise, it's a full squad to play with. So to the prediction then. Now, I'm going to work on the same principle that ought to have worked last weekend, namely that 2 out-of-sorts teams will eventually cancel each other out. So the £2.50 I was going to spend on hiring someone to find a BBC web page that doesn't mention Liverpool will instead be wagered on a score draw. Make it 2-2, please, Mr. Winston. Enjoy the game.